Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And we are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Then again, we're also here Sunday mornings at 1 a.m. That's Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for a special edition of Tell Me Your Story. And then Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. You do realize that's 9 programs, 9 different conversations, 9 different guests. We hope that you will subscribe as well as click notification so that when I post a new conversation, you will be notified. And that way you can tune in and listen in and all of that good stuff. And hopefully find out more about the work that our guests are doing. We also stream live at those times aforementioned at richarddugan.com. And we're also on YouTube, where you can also watch these conversations. I hope you will. And then we also ask that you do what you can financially, if you can help to support the work that we are doing here for almost 15 years. And actually, I have to correct myself because it's actually 17. 17. I don't know where I got 15, but it's actually 17. We started in 2007, and then 14, 21. That's 7, 14, 21, 7 years, 14, and so forth. 17 years we've been doing this, ladies and gentlemen, and I have actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope that you can support what we're doing. We have a PayPal account. It's there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask to whom to send the support, Richard at richarddugan.com is the email. That's Richard at richarddugan.com. We also ask that you take some time to go within to listen to that still small voice in that quiet, peaceful, calm place during this, the decade of perfect vision. Our program today is going to be taking, I'm going to use this concept, a rather circuitous route. Yes, indeed. I think that you're going to enjoy it. I know that here in Santa Barbara, where I happen to reside, there is a church that has laid out in its courtyard a labyrinth. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to find out all about what is the significance of labyrinths as well. And we're going to talk about that with our very special guest. She is one who has an organization and the website, Living Labyrinths for Peace, livinglabyrinthsforpeace.org. All right. And the spirit behind Boy, that's a mouthful. Let me tell you, tongue twister, for Peace Incorporated. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and is basically artistic, poetic. She's a teacher as well as an artist and a poet, Sandra Wasko-Flood, and she gives great thanks for the gift she receives from her space scientist father, whose parents came from Russia. And it's great to have you on our program today. It's really a pleasure. I've always been intrigued by labyrinths, and I think you're going to open up some new doors for both myself as well as our listeners and viewers.
Thank you.
It's really interesting to take a look at some of these different labyrinths. I actually bought one of these coloring books. Well, it's sort of a coloring book, but it's a book of labyrinths, and you take your pen or pencil and you go through and you find your way either to the other side or to the center, and that type of thing. And of course, I've seen some different movies and television programs where you have a hedge that's a good 10, maybe 15 feet high, so that you can't see over to cheat, so to speak. What is it about labyrinths that has intrigued you so that here you are today talking with us about this? I think it's rather extraordinary, because there's something, if I am correct, rather mystical and mysterious about labyrinths.
Okay. Glad to be here. We have this nonprofit organization, and the mission inspires healing and transformation within and among people through labyrinth building and education in the communities. And what are labyrinths? Well, they've been in use for more than 4,000 years, and found in many cultures. And today, labyrinths are having a renaissance. These walkable designs can be found worldwide in churches and retreat centers, schools, hospitals, museums, art centers, and even backyards. And about the labyrinth, no one knows where they came from, but it is the path of Mercury in the sky. And anyway, labyrinths have a single meandering path that goes to the center and back. Many find that the winding path slows their breathing, helps to focus the mind, and induces a peaceful, creative state of being. You can lose yourself in a maze with its many dead ends, but find yourself in a labyrinth on the single path. Walk for an intention, make a decision, resolve a conflict, create a peace wish, center yourself, connecting to whatever higher power in which you believe.
You have an organization called LL4P. It's a
Yeah,
nonprofit in Kentucky.
livinglabyrinthsforpeace.org.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me. We have a church here in Santa Barbara that actually, from a distance, if you look at its bell tower, it almost looks like a castle. It's very cool. But in their courtyard, they have a labyrinth. It's not a hedge or anything. It's just laid out on the ground flat. And anybody can walk it at any time. What is what are the origins? I mean, you say it goes back 4,000 years, but someone had to create the first labyrinth. And of course, you and I would agree that, hey, a lot of this kind of stuff comes from the etherical, the metaphysical, the spiritual, if you will, other dimensions and what have you. From your research and your study, where have you found labyrinths sort of to originate?
Well, they're found in caves. They're drawing on rock drawings in caves,
Hmm.
and no one really believes where they originate from. But as I said, they're the path of Mercury in the sky, and they've been found on rocks and in caves and and all over the world, and nobody knows exactly. There's different types, and there's the ancient labyrinth is the classic seven circuit labyrinth, and it's seven paths to the center and back. And there's even a Native American labyrinth, too. So, so the theory is that it might have come, the classic seven circuit labyrinth, which is the oldest labyrinth that exists, might have come from the path of Mercury in the sky because it forms that labyrinth.
Now, I have been reading that there is if I am correct, there is a labyrinth somewhere on the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C. Is that correct?
There was we did a project at the U.S. Capitol, and there was temporary surveyor flag labyrinths there. And I was a founding member of the Labyrinth Society in 1998. And in 2000, I directed its first project, which was a labyrinth demonstration for inner peace on the east lawn of the U.S. Capitol. And it went on for a couple of weeks. And we had these surveyor flag labyrinths because they didn't allow you to put a permanent labyrinth there, And
Hmm.
people walked them from all walks of life, people coming to DC from all over the world, and all ages and children and everything, and even animals walked with it. Dogs walked with her, and it was just wonderful. And people walked them for different intentions. You could make a peace wish for yourself, family, friends, community, or the world. That was the direction that we had.
Hmm.
And and so yeah, that's what happened there. Uh,
I also know that, and this
oh,
is sort of close to
and we
home.
also had, excuse me,
Go ahead.
we also had in the Cannon Rotunda of the House of Representatives, I gave an introductory lecture on labyrinths, and people walked a canvas ones on the floor, and it was the Hands of Peace labyrinth, and that we painted on the canvas, and we had different rainbow colors, and out on the lawns of the US. And so people of many different ages and cultures and countries and professions came together more peacefully as they walked. And even dogs bonded with their children and their families more when they walked with them. And the Washington Times wrote a great article. Spiritual event comes to the US Capitol.
Mm. Now, some might think of a labyrinth and mistakenly say, oh, that's a maze. It's not, I mean, you can't even say it's a kind of maze. Or is it? Is a labyrinth a maze too? I mean, is it kind of
No,
no?
a maze, you can get lost in a maze because it has many paths and dead ends, and
Hmm.
it's hard to get out. But the labyrinth has a single path. It's like life's path. You go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and you focus on your goal, and you get to the center of transformation, and then you come out of the labyrinth and you bring your piece of peace to the world, so to speak. You make sort of uh, uh, when you get to the center, you open up to whatever higher power you believe in. And you might have a question or something, but then you just let what happens happen,
Mm.
and see what kind of messages you get or anything or feeling,
Am I
And
correct
you
that
can,
you have established labyrinths in many different places, not only in the United States, but on other shores, so to speak?
we've done a few overseas, yeah. And, but mainly in the US, and we've been wanting to do more and more other places, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and since the COVID hit, we have to sort of stand back a little bit, and so we haven't done as many workshops and things like that. But we've been doing a lot of workshops in the schools, and they're labyrinths for creativity and peace workshops. And the students walk labyrinths for peace wishes, and they create their own canvas labyrinth, um, and, uh, and then they do drawings that they color in drawings of labyrinths
Mhm.
and all that. And so it relates to every single subject. Um, and, uh, uh, and what's happening, what we do is we give these workshops in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. And students learn that labyrinths relate to every single subject that's not covered in the schools, all of Howard Gardner's 9 intelligence. So they learn historical, geographic, scientific, mathematical, artistic, musical, physical, and interpersonal and intrapersonal transformations. These are all Howard Gardner's 9 intelligences. And they can also build a permanent outdoor labyrinth or a canvas labyrinth. And so my fifth grade uh, class had a wonderful time participating in the Peace Project, and the fifth grade teacher said, in 2015, my fifth grade class had the pleasure of participating in the Labyrinth Peace Project. Creating our own labyrinth was an invaluable lesson in teamwork and peaceful conflict resolution. I recommend this project to any teacher who seeks to improve classroom culture. And these are some testimonies from the students. I
Mhm.
walk because I am sad. I am happy now. Now I feel that I do not worry anymore. I feel calm. The labyrinth told me what to do and what to be.
Mm.
Thank you, Miss Sandra, for bringing the labyrinth to our school. Our school is now peaceful.
You have a documentary that is available through your website. And I'm going to give that website out one more time for people as we continue talking here with our very special guest, Sandra Wasko-Flood. The website is Living Labyrinths, plural, Living Labyrinths for peace.org. We will be linked to that website as well. But tell us about this documentary. I'm rather intrigued because um, I found a technique, for example, for working through mazes. You get those books you get from the bookstore where you can multiple pages and you go through mazes. But I'm venturing there's also there are also books out there with labyrinths, and I want to talk about that as well. But tell us a little bit about this documentary.
The documentary about which documentary you're talking about?
The one I'm talking about is Awakening to Spirit.
Oh, Inner Peace to World Peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the book that I wrote, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that covers all the different forms of peace and spirituality, and that it's peace with yourself, your friends, your family, your community, the world, and we've done many different events. And for examples, in churches, universities, art centers, community centers. And we did a Memorial Day at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Angel Fire, New Mexico, where I live, and one at New Door Creative Gallery in Baltimore, Maryland. And there I gave a new labyrinth design called Goddess of the Universe,
Mm-hmm.
And then World Labyrinth Day we had at World Labyrinth Day is the fourth Saturday in May, where people all over the world walk labyrinths for peace in their time zone. And so on that day, Johns Hopkins Bayview Medical Center in Baltimore, Maryland, we did a labyrinth there. We made one there outside. And then the Mayan Acta, he came to do at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., and he gave presentations on world peace. And we did a new world peace design for him. And I did tell you that the International Labyrinth Society's first project was Labyrinth for Peace 2000 on the East Lawn of the U.S. Capitol. And of course, we had things going on in the House of Representatives, the Canna Rotunda, and House Rayburn building. And so that we've been doing things all over the place and getting various, reactions from people. And when we put the labyrinths on Capitol Hill, surveyor flag one, this one autistic child walked the labyrinth, and he walked into the labyrinth, and when he came out, he was able to speak.
Wow.
And yeah, and that was amazing. That happened a second time. And
So,
when I was in one of the schools, the same thing happened, a child's autistic child. And I had the theory, maybe autistic people are just not interested in talking.
well, it is from my observation, and I haven't been around that many autistic, let alone those even with Down syndrome. They're kind of like they make reference to being on the spectrum. They're not living in any other world but the now, which is the biggest difference between I will say them and us. Whereas we cannot, for whatever reason, we cannot stop living in the past and the future, sometimes simultaneously. We have a real hard time living in the now. And so they have a lot to teach us in that regard. What is it about labyrinths for you personally that has so intrigued you that you are very much involved in different organizations as well as this particular website, livinglabyrinthtsforpeace.org. What is it about the labyrinth? How were you introduced the first time?
Okay. What happened was Chaco National Historical Park is one of our favorite places to go to. And we went there, it was, I think, in the 90s, then 1998 or before that. And we used to go there every year because we live up in New Mexico permanently now. And I this before they closed down the Great Kiva, I was able to go into the Great Kiva, and I sat there and I had a vision. I had a vision of ceremonial dancers from all over the world peacefully ascending an underground spiral, doing a dance on the Kiva, in the Kiva, and sending another spiral under a space dome to the skies. And so this was a vision. And I've been led by the angels, or whatever you want to say, this higher power. Just as when I got out of the Kiva, the tour guide said that was all there. That all happened there. And they made it as a sacred center for people from all walks of life and everything to do ceremonies and to get along better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had all these different tribes coming into Chaco, you know. And anyway, so then I was led straight to a bookstore in Santa Fe. And usually when I go in there, I just wander around looking at all the books. Spirit led me straight to a book on the bottom shelf. Labyrinths, Ancient Myths and Modern Uses by Sig Logren. I had never heard about a labyrinth. I read the book, and I knew a labyrinth belonged in that Kiva, that was the type of thing they were doing. And I went back to my Washington, D.C. studio at the time, and I created a labyrinth that made peace between art, science, technology, and nature. It was Dance of the Labyrinth, and you step on these computer programmed light box images that light up to your step.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through different paths like the earth path, which is the physical answers to your question, the water path, which is the emotional, the mind path, which is the mental, spirit path, and so on, till you get to the center mirror. And then you stand on the center mirror, and you can connect through the earth and above the earth to whatever you believe in, whatever higher power, you know. And so it's just been led by the angels, or by, you know, I've been very intuitive, and I have to open up to that, and, you know, all those insights, and so that's what happened, and that was very popular. A lot of people walked it, you know, and now we're in the process of upgrading it, and we want the people, because it was on the oldest computer that exists. That was really a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking into getting a grant at Harvard University for the younger people to update it, you know. So yeah. And so
Well,
that
to
it's
me,
just
it's
been a miracle that, you know,
yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to do with my life, you know.
Well, and that's what we talk about on this program, is helping people to find their life's purpose, if you will, you know, and what they need to be doing. You know, it's fascinating to me. And again, I'm making the differentiation, of course, between a maze and a labyrinth. Uh, are labyrinths primarily paths that one walks? Usually that's how it's done. I mean, I can sit there with these books, for example, a book of either labyrinths or a book of mazes, and I just take my eyes and I will follow and find my way through pretty quickly. But the purpose of a labyrinth is not to find your way through, you know, quickly. It's more of a
Yes.
meditative experience.
Yes. And that definitely is. And you can't get really frustrated or sad or anything about the paths backwards. This
Hmm.
happens all the time in life. We're going backwards, but we go backwards to find our way forwards. And maybe what we thought we were supposed to do, you know, the forward wasn't the right thing. And so we go backwards, and we're not supposed to do that thing, you know, and then we find our way forwards. And we have to keep going back and forth until we get to what we're supposed to do, to the miracle or the goal or whatever we're supposed to do, you know.
Mm. Well, I am
That's
intrigued just because of the shape, if you will, and because it is, to me, it is like a maze. I mean, that's my best way of describing it, is it's a kind of maze, but it isn't, as you stated already. It's not a maze, you know, that you're supposed to work your way through. Um, for example, one of the ways that I've heard of working through a maze is you just stay to one side. You stay either to the left or the right side, and you just follow the wall, and eventually you're going to find your way out the other side. There is no, the goal isn't necessarily to find your way through to the other side, because a lot of these labyrinths, if I'm not mistaken, they actually lead into the center of the labyrinth itself. And basically, then you turn around and then you walk your way back out. And it's a meditative process. What are some of the things that you can share with us that you have personally experienced as you have maybe created some of these labyrinths, but also walked through them? And how large can some of these get?
Well, they can get several feet, in diameter. They can get um it just depends how much space you have.
Hmm.
And we always used to do large ones in in my art studio area in Washington, D.C. It was a really large place, and maybe about 60 feet diameter, 50, 60, 70 feet diameter, and
Hmm.
you would make a circle. Now, there's several types of labyrinths, and the ancient one is the classic seven circuit labyrinth, but then there's the medieval one that was found in cathedrals throughout the U.S. and everything,
Oh,
and
wow.
churches.
Hmm.
And that one has 12 circuits, and it's much larger and it's round. And the classic one is sort of like square, or more rectangular. And and then there's a lot of modern ones that people are inventing. But I've been drawn to the ancient one, and mostly, and that's a good one to use if people don't want to say that you're promoting some religion or something.
That's something else I'm curious about because I myself I was born and raised Catholic, and yet in my 20s and 30s I worked for a Christian radio station, and it was like every time you turned around there was something that was you shouldn't be a part of, kind of thing. And yet every time, matter of fact, I'm looking at your website right now, which again, folks, I want to reiterate that website is livinglabyrinths4peace.org. And I'm looking at some of these images of labyrinths, of patterns. And they're just, they're so beautiful. When we want to create a labyrinth, it doesn't necessarily have to be made up. I know that, for example, some people they might even put up a hedge. They'll plant hedges and so forth that will, or they'll use rocks, to create the labyrinth. Um, is there a special way or a technique, or is there a any kind of a protocol when creating one's own labyrinth? If you've got enough room in your yard somewhere and you want to have one, what's the process for creating a
Well,
labyrinth?
there's instructions for creating them, and it uses a little bit of geometry and everything, but they're in various books. You can get books on labyrinths, and they'll show you how to do it and everything. And but the other thing is, suppose you can't walk, you're old, and all this stuff. You can use finger labyrinths, and they make a lot of finger labyrinths, everywhere.
Hmm.
And so they're made out of wood, usually, and you just use your fingers, and uh, you can do the major labyrinths are the classic seven circuit, and then there's a concentric labyrinth that is a round labyrinth, and then there's a sharp cathedral labyrinth. The concentric labyrinth has seven circuits as well. Those are the major ones, and you can get any kind of finger labyrinth made out of wood or whatever you like, and you can do it with your fingers. And but there are instructions, and there's various books that have them in, and you do have to use a little bit of geometry, and you have to if you're going to do a permanent one, you have to. I always have them put up. What do you call those little flag things that you put in the ground? Those.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we spray paint. No, we spray paint uh, out all the circuits and measure them and spray paint them out and put the flags in, and then uh, then if you want to make a permanent one, you decide where it is and what you're doing on it. You can paint it on a drive, a driveway or something, or that they call that, that kind of surface.
Hmm.
Um, you can also you can also you if you're doing it on the grass or something or the earth, you put the flags in first, and then you decide whether you want to use rocks to make it with, or what, and you can make these paths, and they're usually at least a foot wide, so you can walk in them with 2 feet, and and then um and then you can use I have a Unirocks labyrinth where in my backyard in Angel Fire, and it's all about how all the rocks get together, get along together, and so I can use the rocks, or you could use plants,
Hmm.
if you've got, it just depends what you have, and then for the paths, you can put down a little bit of earth. If it's grassy or something, you cover it over with some earth, and or little what do you call it? Those little rocks that you find, and that you can put on down, little seed things, and yeah, and so and it's very easy to paint one on canvas,
Hmm.
if you get, there's designs for that, and so I've done, like rainbow labyrinths of peace, and labyrinths generally have all these colors of the rainbow, and each one relates to a different chakra in the body, you know and so there's so many ways to do it, and but you just have to get some instructions, and
And you offer consultation for building labyrinths too, do you not?
yes, I do.
Okay, and people can certainly find out about that through your website. And
Mhm.
once again, ladies and gentlemen, that website is Living Labyrinths for Peace.org. We are talking with Sandra Wasko-Flood, and
Mhm.
you've got a lot of resources on your website for people to check out. A lot of things that you've put together for finding out more about labyrinths. Universal Journey, a fine art retrospective. That's just one. There's another one, The Labyrinth Path to Light and Peace, Art and Poetry by Sandra Wasko-Flood. And I'm wondering, when creating a labyrinth, if let's say somebody wanted to create their own labyrinth, and I guess they can do that. I mean, it's not out of the realms. How would they go about that process, taking into consideration the space that they would have and so forth? How would they go about creating their own path, if you will? And I want to put it in this context: their own meditative path in their yard, or for that matter, maybe inside, even in the home.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, they can get instructions on how to do that, and there are books and stuff that if you look up different labyrinth books that show you how to do it. And one thing that I like to do is to help people do that. And we can also do we have these coloring books that have labyrinths in them, and they show you how to make the different labyrinths, and you can color them in. So you can do those types of labyrinths, and you can do, ones outdoors and indoors, yeah, on canvas and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, you have a book in here, Living Labyrinths for Peace, Labyrinth Designs for Students, that you have
Hmm.
compiled.
Yeah.
And as I say, there are many, many different resources on your website, videos, DVDs, and books as well. Labyrinths for Peace, several different books in that regard. And it's just fascinating to me how much there is out there. Art, technology, labyrinths of light, and so forth. And it just, and they're actually, I would think that again, you want to make these large enough to where you can, hopefully, walk along them as a path of sorts. But can they be as effective as, let's say, you've got something on a paper or a canvas, say on the wall, that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
you follow it with your
Yeah.
eyes?
People have had canvas ones put up on the wall, and you can use your fingers on
Use
those.
your
They
fingers.
don't
Okay.
have to be that big, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and you can do them on paper too, and make your own and color them and draw into them, and yeah, and yeah. So that's yeah. And so in my book, I wanted to read one poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's called
Well, yeah. Well, and I will tell you that we are going to be sharing some of the images as we go through this conversation on the video portion of our program, so that people can
okay.
see some of these as we are going through. Are there particular um uh, well, I'll put it this way. Are there particular rules that you follow when creating a labyrinth, or is it all intuitive? Is it all following the guidance, if you will, of the
Well,
divine or higher power and so forth?
well, the point is that there's both of those things, because you do have to draw the different types. You know, if you're doing the classic seven circuit labyrinth, yeah, you have to make the seven circuits, and there are some sort of rules like that. You know,
Hmm.
but you can use any type of, you know, you want to do it on the grass, wherever,
Hmm.
paint it or whatever. Um, but when you're walking it, you know, you just walk it for whatever. You can have any kind of question or problem that you ask, or just walk it to see what happens. And you get to the center and you listen to your higher power. And then what I say is, when you come back out, you bring your piece of peace to the world, whatever insights you have, and uh the labyrinth that I made, the dance of the labyrinth, which is a computer program one. I have the earth path. How are you doing physically? Water path. What emotion do you have now? Is it a good one, or one you're trying to overcome? You know, and
Hmm.
then the fire path is your mental. What's your mind telling you? And then the air path is your spiritual path. And then I have a merging elements path that brings all these together. And then you get to the center mirror of transformation and try to bring all that together and see what's happening with you.
Hmm.
And then and then bring whatever guidance you get, or whatever. You could get nothing, but most people say, I didn't hear too much or anything, but they always feel more relaxed and
Hmm.
peaceful, you know
Interesting.
walking.
I know
Yeah.
that everybody's looking for ways to sort of center themselves, to calm themselves. Many people are trying to do that. Others are wanting to get more hyped up and ramped up on whatever the issue is they want to get involved in. But I myself, I'm just looking for those ways to calm the mind, to not quiet it, because you can't really shut the mind down. You can't stop those voices from speaking in that regard, but you can at least say, hey, I remember thinking about this in the context of what we talk about, encouraging people to go within and listen to that still small voice, and how um it used to be. I remember these steps of progression, if you will, in regards to that. The first thing is, you want to shut down, quiet the mind, so that you can go in and listen
Yeah,
to that
quiet
still,
mind.
yeah, quiet the mind, a still small voice.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Then I came up with this, where I said, okay, I'm going to talk to my mind. Say, look, here's the deal. I want to spend a little time in this quiet place, okay, listening to the voice. And when I get back, I will share with you what I've gleaned, and then we'll go and we'll have some fun. But one of my guests offered this suggestion, which I thought was fabulous. They said,
Hmm.
why don't you invite the mind to come with you, with the proviso, the mind needs to stay quiet while you're there. In other words, it's just like, instead of telling the child, no, you stay here, I'll be back in 30 minutes to an hour, what have you. And
Oh
of course,
yeah.
the child is there and upset because they're all alone now. Well, why don't you allow it, with the condition, You have to be quiet, but you can come along. At least that way you can see what's going on. You can hear what's
Oh yeah, definitely. That's really good to quiet the mind,
yeah.
open your heart, quiet the
Yeah.
mind, and then see if they can relate to each other much more peacefully.
Yeah.
Um, could I read a poem that I have in
Please.
my,
Oh, would
yeah,
love that. By the way, just
yeah,
before you do read that poem, I want to remind our listeners, this is Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are talking with our very special guest here on the program, who is Sarah Wasko Fund, Flood.
Sandra,
I'm sorry, Sarah Wasko Flood.
Sandra.
And the website, once again, is livinglabyrinths4peace.org. And she is going to share with us a poem and I'm very excited about this. So please take the stage, so to speak.
Okay, find yourself in a labyrinth. While you can lose yourself in a maze, you can find yourself in a labyrinth. Follow just one meandering path to the center and back through the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Life, find yourself in the labyrinth. Give inner peace a chance. Before you start, pause for a cause and listen with your heart to experience your feelings. Walk to make a decision, resolve a conflict, or make a peace wish for yourself, your family, friends, community, or the world. Death. Walk
Mm.
forward and back, slowly and steadily on the earth, one foot in front of another through those many life turns until you reach the center. Then listen with your heart and mind to your higher mentor. Die to an old way of being. Be reborn to a new way of seeing. Rebirth. Follow the same meandering path back, that journey of many turns. Step to the beats of your heart. Become one with the light.
Mm. That's beautiful. I'm I'm curious about the uses, if you will. I know it's meditative in a way too, but and you talked about some of the things, the different types of, I guess, labyrinth, the fire lab and so forth, or I'm sorry, not the labyrinths themselves, but what was it again? The stages,
Life, death, and rebirth.
the seven different points or aspects of a labyrinth.
Yeah, the seven. They're the it goes into the chakras
Right.
of the lab. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But are there different labyrinths that one can create for, again, those seven different chakras, or is that all incorporated into one? What are the different
It's
types of labyrinths?
well, you could do what well. There's as far as creating them. There's just a few types,
Hmm.
but you can walk them for any reason.
Hmm.
And you can walk them for the chakras if you've got that seven circuit one with the different colors. Or you could even walk it for a different reason if you want. It's yeah, and
Have you
yeah,
have
but I think the primary thing is to become more peaceful
hmm
and overcome conflicts. And when we did our project at the U.S. Capitol, I wrote this saying: "Let us live labyrinths for peace. Let the love for ourselves and others increase. Let our sorrows and fears be released as we walk that meandering path with people of other races, cultures, and beliefs. Let us live labyrinths for peace." And it's so important to be able to get along with everything peacefully. The people, the animals, the nature, everything. That's what we want to do.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's something that I want to say that we're starting to do some things in the world today that are going to be beneficial. I know that sometimes when we take a look at what's going on in the world, we sometimes wonder how in the world we've survived this long.
I
You know,
know.
um, and I certainly encourage people to go to the various websites and so forth to find out more about the work that our guests are doing. And as I've said before, there is the website that we send people to, which is your website, livinglabyrinthsforpeace.org. Um, if I was to if I was to create a labyrinth, and in the place in which we live, where we live, we happen to be renting. We've been there for 18 years. Um, is there any type of ceremonial aspect in the creation of the labyrinth that I might create, whether I'm using stones or plants or creating a hedge or what have you, that you offer within some of the books that you've written? And when you've got quite a few things there available to us, between books and DVDs and so forth, and PDF downloads. Uh, Talk to us a little bit about the actual creation of a labyrinth in terms of choosing the place, the space, the size, and then the pattern and so forth. What's the process one would go through that you would counsel them through?
Um, I would say to just do kind of a meditation to sort of reach your higher power. And wherever you live, well, first of all, decide, what kind do you want, an indoor labyrinth or an outdoor one or grass? Where do you think it would be good to put it? I would do a meditation on where would a good place to put it be for a lot of people to use it, and what sorts of people that you want to use it for, and then when you're making it, you have to get the people to help uh that can do the sort of technical type stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you have, if you're putting in surveyor flags or putting down the doing the design, you have to get people that understand that, and you have to make sure that they're interested, try to get them interested and young enough to do different things, uh, that are able to do it, use their talents. And I think what I would do is just sort of, first of all, find out what a labyrinth is and experience either walking one somewhere or doing a finger labyrinth, and then deciding where you might want to put it, uh, by who needs it the most or what's the most practical for me, you know. Uh, is it going to be my family thing, or can I do it in a community, in a local church, or some sort of center, that might need it? And uh, are you going to do it for children or for adults? Or even one I did. I took one to a prison one time, and I had a few prisoners walk it, and they were all in the same jail room.
Mm-hmm.
And after walking it, they got along better.
Hmm. Gee, I
Can't
wish I
believe
had.
it. I did.
Well,
That
I
was a
wish.
little scary.
I'll bet. I wish I had known that some years ago when we when we took possession of a beautiful purebred female German Shepherd into our home. We already had a male black King Shepherd, and he wanted to be king of the manor and did not want her there. We had numerous trainers come in to try to bring the two of them together, to try to get them to
Yeah,
cohabitate together, and it
yeah,
just wasn't possible. And we ended up having her sent up to Northern California to a place where when they sent us a video where she was just having the time of her life with the other dogs in the fenced-in area, which was huge, and just enjoying her life. But yet our dog, his name is Angus. He did not want anything to do with any other animals. So it would have been great to have had a labyrinth there to maybe help him, to calm him, and so forth. But it is what it is. But no, that would be very cool. How do you know a lot of people who have indoor, in-home labyrinths, like in their living room or their dining room or that kind of
uh,
thing on the floor?
well, the thing is about the indoor ones. Generally, what they have, they don't usually have permanent ones indoors,
Hmm.
but they have these canvas labyrinths that they can put out on the floor. And usually, if there's a basement, there's a large space.
Hmm.
But oftentimes there's big rooms, you just push the dining room table away and you
Yeah.
can put one on the floor there, and we often do that when we have an event. We're up in Angel Fire and it's a Canadian climate zone and it's kind of icky outside. We have one outside, but
Hmm.
if it's cold and snowy, you can put one inside,
Yeah. That would
Yeah,
be very
and
cool. So when we are thinking about this, and I am actually doing this because I know there's a space that we live on 9 acres, but we only occupy maybe an acre and a half. So there is space, there is a place where we would be able to lay out a labyrinth and so forth. Are they usually round, or that's all based upon what your intuition
what
might
the
guide
divine
you?
is.
Yeah.
The divine is, yeah. Well, you can the classic seven circuit labyrinth is more rectangular, but you can make it so it's a little bit rounder.
Hmm.
But the medieval one is round,
Hmm.
and the Sharp Cathedral one is round, and a lot of people like that one, And
How
yeah, you can
often?
do.
I would assume you have a labyrinth outside your home somewhere as well in your yard.
Yeah, it's in our backyard, and it's
Hmm.
called the Uni Rocks Labyrinth. It's in a pine forest. We're up at 8,600 feet elevation in a Canadian climate zone, and above Taos and Angel Fire, and it's a
Mm.
beautiful place, and it doesn't get above 80 in the summer. And anyway, so we made uh, it's an open area in a pine forest, and people think that maybe the Native Americans used it as a ceremonial center because they didn't live up there during the winter. It was too cold. But anyhow, so we made a wonderful classic seven circuit labyrinth out of rocks, and wrote a poem, Uni Rocks Labyrinth, because all the rocks get along,
Hmm.
you know,
And
and
by
that's
the
what
way,
we want to do.
right. And by the way, as folks are watching the YouTube video of this program of Tell Me Your Story, we're showing different labyrinths that you have provided us images of, because I want to be able to show people what they can be, and they don't have to be huge. And as you said before, you can put them up on a wall and trace them with your fingers. Is that sort of you? It is a tactile experience, whether you walk them, they're large enough for you to walk, or that you would use your finger to trace the labyrinth through we'll call it the meditative process, correct? As
Right.
opposed to, as I suggested, just following with your eyes. You kind of want to, it's kind of a hands-on kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And also, walking your hands on, you're using your body to do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually feeling
Very,
it.
very interesting. I'm
Oh,
wondering, of the people that you have connected with over the many years, I'm sure that you have been doing this. They've probably incorporated other things in the labyrinth, because what just came to me, my wife and I are both Reiki masters, and I think about the symbols for Reiki,
oh yeah.
and sort of incorporating those or some other symbology from other teachings, some other traditions from around the
Yeah.
world.
I know somebody, can't remember the name right now, but that was doing a Reiki thing in the labyrinth. You could use Reiki in the labyrinth.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Talk-
you actually can.
Yeah, can you talk to us about the energy of a labyrinth? In the
Uh,
context of both self, and then, because again, being a Reiki master, being taught about it, I'm a conduit. I don't control the energy. I just send it. It does what it does based upon the receiver, whether it's a person or a situation. What about the energy that that the labyrinth, the pattern, the symbology, and so forth, that what we become, that again, a conduit of that energy?
yeah. If depending on what you really like, what kind of labyrinth you're walking,
Hmm.
it's uh we my Dance of the Labyrinth with the computer program Lightboxes has surround images too, panoramic, and the one that we're going to make uh, is called the Luminous Labyrinth Center for Peace, and we want to do it in Sedona, and it's going to it comes from my vision in Chaco. And what we're going to do is we're going to have have images that you put on the ground, whatever images, whatever labyrinth type you want to walk. You can walk on earth, air, fire, water, and that's going to be in a light box. And then you can bring your own images for whatever event you want, like a birthday, marriage, funeral, whatever, and you can slide them in the boxes. And you can choose panoramic images of where you want to walk, ocean, mountains, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then overhead images of the dome. And that's coming from my Chaco vision. And then you can have ceremonies for whatever you want, birthday, and walk the labyrinth, and bring your own images and all that. And so that's what we are looking forward to producing soon. And but we're looking for major donors to do it. And the first one will be in Sedona, and then we're going to do traveling versions of them. And the UNM Taos head of the architect department there said he could have his students do a traveling version of it. And so that's the major goal, before I leave the earth. That's what I want to do. And I want to also say that some of the programs that we've done that have helped people already we're applying for a Harvard fellowship on the healing effects of labyrinths for our Alzheimer's and memory loss, And so I'm trying to get a grant to do that. And I'm a patron of the Near Death Studies organization, and they have and I will be attending their Near Death Ions conference in Phoenix on August 27th to September 3rd. And I do think, there's so many people that have had near-death experiences and they've come back out of it somehow. And I so want to be able to use the labyrinths for that. And then I'm going to the Labyrinth Society annual gathering, and it's going to be at the Episcopal Conference Center in Oakhurst, California. And that's going to be October 18th to 20th. And I've done several presentations at that conference already, but not this year. And we're going to do and doing many holistic fairs where I introduce the concept of labyrinths to the general public. And I'm looking for the effects of labyrinth, working on those who suffer from COVID. And so we're working on all these projects, to help people, transform.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that it certainly is needed these days. It's often there's a wonderful Chinese, I guess it's a Chinese proverb that says, "May you live in interesting times." Well, to be honest with you, I'm 64, and and I'll be honest with you, there hasn't been a moment in my life that hasn't been rather interesting. And at the same time, I know that there are people who are challenged and they're struggling with all of these different things and trying to make heads and tails of what's happening. And I have a feeling that a labyrinth, if one has whether it's a canvas one on the floor in the living room or on the wall, and so forth, or out in the backyard, what have you, or in our case, if we choose to come down to this one church here in Santa Barbara that has one in their courtyard and walk it, that it would probably help to give each one of us, if we were to practice walking the labyrinth, I think a calmness, maybe a peace of mind in that regard, just in general, about everything, and help us to focus on those things that are really important to us, and not the outer stuff, not all of the stuff that we get on social media or the news and those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah.
Because those are not helping our peace of mind. They're not helping our health and well-being. And I think that a labyrinth would go a long way to helping us to do that. And I'll tell you though, we don't have a lot of wall space in our home anymore because we have a lot of pictures all over the walls of different things and so forth. But I'm sure that we could find a place to place a wall-mounted labyrinth, or again, get one of these canvas labyrinths and move the dining room table and place that down on the rug and walk around in that regard as well. I think it would behoove each one of us as well to go to livinglabyrinthtsforpeace.org and find out more about the work that you, Sandra Wasko-Flood, are doing to help us to find that peace of mind, to find that center. And who knows, maybe even as we suggest, of course, during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, going within through the process of walking or tracing a labyrinth and again, listening to that still small voice. I would venture that your inner life is pretty full, especially when you spend that time with and in a labyrinth, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I always think it's a good thing to try to walk a labyrinth every day if you can, and it just calms you down and just helps you make whatever decision you need to make and things like that. If
I
you
would
can.
think, yeah, I would think that again, it's the tactile aspects of it. I think the connection with the form, the labyrinth, is important as opposed to there's an app for darn near everything. I'm sure somebody's created an app for a labyrinth as well, but it's not I don't think it's the same as
No.
even having one on the wall, hanging on your wall. And here in our in the studio here, I've got lots of wall space, but it's not my home. I'd rather have one up on the wall on my home. So, or maybe what I think when things cool down a little bit here in Santa Barbara, in the Santa Barbara area, because it's been rather warm, a little warmer than I'd care for. Although I'm thankful I'm not living in Phoenix anymore, my hometown. It's really hot there. But once
Yeah.
things start to cool down, I think that we may very well, because there are plenty of rocks all over this property where we live,
Yeah.
that we could at least create the outline initially, and then we'll come up with whatever it is that we need to create a labyrinth on the ground, because I would think that would really be effective because you're walking right there on Mother Earth. You're connected in that
Oh, yeah.
regard. Now there's a lot of work that would have to be done to clear the space because right now there's no way I would go barefoot out on the ground. I would need to clear the space and so forth. I do miss that. That's one aspect of living in Phoenix. When I was a kid growing up, we had a beautiful, my dad had an immaculate yard, Bermuda grass. It was wonderful to walk on in the spring and not so much in the fall because it would die off. But when it was green and lush in the summer, it felt so good on the bare feet. And I know that doing that, connecting with Mother Earth in that regard and so forth would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
What is some of the advice that you share with people? And this is before we wrap things up here on Tell Me Your Story. Sandra, what is some of the advice that you would give to people for either A, creating a labyrinth of their own, whether it be on the ground outside, or maybe getting a piece of canvas and painting or what have you, or putting something up on the wall and again using your fingers to trace? Where would one want to start when it comes? I guess maybe the better question is the preparations for using a labyrinth, not so much creating one as much as using a labyrinth. And you talk about daily using a labyrinth.
Mhm.
Talk to us about your process when getting ready to walk the labyrinth.
Okay. Well, if it's an outdoor one, I just before I start walking the labyrinth, I just sort of, meditate. What what is my concern of this day? What would I like to have happen or change? Or how can I be more peaceful today with whatever's happening? And I just sort of, do a little meditation like that. And then I walk the labyrinth. And when I get to the center, you just have to pause and listen. And also, give forth your heart and whatever you need to give forth, if it's a question or just just meditating or whatever. And and so that's what I think would be the preparation, and then when you come out, you can write down what your experience was and keep a notebook on it too.
Hmm.
It's almost like a dream notebook. What was my dream last night and what does it mean, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just keep a notebook on it, and then just and try to and if you can't do it outside one, you can do a finger labyrinth inside one. And every morning when I get up, I do a finger labyrinth.
Mm. Well, I highly encourage people to go to your website, livinglabyrinthtsforpeace.org, to find out more about the work that you are doing, and even get, again, there's DVDs that are available. There's PDF of the book. You can get a hard copy, of any of the materials that are available there. We encourage you to do that and find out more about what Sandra Wasko-Flood has been doing for quite a number of years. We're not going to go down that particular path per se, just to reiterate that this is something that can help us. I think each one of us, and we thank you so much for doing that.
And do they have my email too?
Well, I would think that they would have your email address through your website, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah.
we will make sure that that's available to our listeners as well.
And
And
also my cell phone number, which has been changed.
all right. Well, we can make that available. We'll do that. And we hope that folks will find out more about the work that you are doing through this process as well. Um, I want to thank you for giving us so much time. Would love to have you back to talk further about this in regards to not just the history, because we did touch a little bit upon that. It goes, as you said, it goes back about 4,000 years. I
Mm-hmm.
am curious as to the mindset of someone, the first person who created a labyrinth. It must have been intuitive more than anything else. That would be
They found them in the caves.
yeah, yeah. It's just fascinating. It really is. And I mean, I think about that in the context of, for example, musical instruments. I often wonder, the individual who decided, for example, my eldest sister, who's since passed on, she played the French horn, and the French horn has got so many twists and turns in the brass tubing that they created this French horn with, out of, and it's like that had to have been divinely inspired, if you will, because it can make such a beautiful music. And my sister did just that. She made beautiful music with the French horn, and it actually could, if you looked at it long enough, I suppose you could say, yeah, there's a labyrinth in there somewhere. It's fascinating, the inventions of different musical instruments, among other things. I mean, that all of
Oh
the
yeah,
things
yeah.
that man has
Yeah, well,
created.
I like music too when I walk the labyrinth, and you have to choose the music that you like,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we did this wonderful video, and I see two participants. Does that mean it's going to be recorded and sent out, or what's happening?
Well, what we've got is, for folks who go to our YouTube channel, they will be able to watch this conversation, and
Okay.
we'll be posting that along with they'll be able to also see some of the labyrinths that we've been talking about from your website as well. So we encourage people to go to your website once again,
Hmm.
and livinglabyrinths4peace.org is the website.
Hmm.
I want to thank you so much, Sandra, for being a part of what we're doing here and trying to give people new ideas, new ways of living, giving them choices and knowledge of those choices to help make their dreams come true. We were very grateful. I do have three final questions that I want to ask you that I ask all of my guests at the end of each program. But again, I can't thank you enough for enlightening me as well as our listeners and viewers about this aspect of our lives that is, the labyrinth. And thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here. I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for a special edition of Tell Me Your Story, and then Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. following the news, streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We podcast these programs on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other locations. We're also, as I mentioned earlier, on YouTube. We'll be showing some of these different labyrinths that Sandra has made and has shared with us. And we hope that you'll subscribe to either or both the SoundCloud or the podcasts and the video cast on YouTube. We also hope that you'll click notifications so when I post a new conversation, you'll be able to tap in and listen in to the conversation. We also ask if you can help us out financially. We would be so gratefully appreciative. We have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask to whom you are sending, please put in the email address of richard@richarddugan.com. That's richard@richarddugan.com. And also spend some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, going within and listening to that still small voice. With all of that, we go to our final three questions for a very special guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And the first of those questions is, who is Sandra Wasko-Flood?
Oh, I'm supposed to answer that?
Yes, that's the question. Yes.
Okay. That's a big question. Okay, well, I'm I live here in Angel Fire, New Mexico, in the mountains. I've traveled all over the world because I had a wonderful childhood with an aerospace scientist father and an elementary school teacher mother, and we moved every 2 years. And I always got to know the best people and everything. And I majored in English and at UCLA, and I got a secondary teaching credential there in Los Angeles. And then I started teaching middle school, and I found out that I didn't quite like that. Then I became a full-time artist, and I discovered labyrinths, after my vision in Chaco and everything. And then I decided that I could change the teaching system by doing labyrinths workshops in the schools that related to all different subjects. And then I was able to do it with all different ages. And so that was really a gift to do that. And then I found my husband years ago in California on a field trip, and I just started to I had joined a classical music record club in middle school, and I got Strauss waltzes, and I loved that. And then I played Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, and I didn't understand it. I couldn't get it. And I thought, oh, my parents are going to kick me out of the record club if I tell them to send it back. And so I played it again, and then I got to love it so much. And when I met my husband, I was on a field trip, and I was humming Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, and he came like a bird call. And Beethoven turns out to be our favorite composer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it's been quite a life. And as I say, we moved every couple of years from after I was born in Flushing, Long Island, New York City. Dad said I was 3 years old, my sister 3 months, and he said, I have a job weather forecasting for Pan Am in South Africa or Lisbon, Portugal. And so mom looks at two babies. She said, I think we go to Lisbon. And so from age 3 to age 6, I was in Lisbon, and I
Mm.
love the culture and everything. And then when we came back, he moved from state to state or from place to place, always getting a better job. And then ended up in California. And and it's just been an amazing life. And and I've been always encouraged by both parents,
Mm.
and when I asked my dad, what I should major in, he says, do what you love. If you don't do it, somebody else will. And so yeah, and so my dad was always good at those types of things and advising me on what to study and all that. And mom was such an extrovert, and she was when we lived in Lisbon, she was entertaining ambassadors. And so I got gifts. I'm so thankful for gifts for both parents because I can deal with ideas and with people. And
Mm.
it's just been quite a life. And I have one sister, and we're finally getting along much better. We've had she's had a more difficult life than I have, and so I'm just very thankful.
Mm.
And I just want to give these gifts to the world. And I'm
Yeah.
also an artist. Um, and
Mm.
yeah.
So next question is, what was your best day?
My best what
Your best day.
day
Yes, your best day. What
in
day was your best
was my
day?
best day
Mhm.
in all my life.
Well, however you see that.
Best day. Um, trying to think because that's hard to answer. I've had a lot of good days. I don't know what the best one is. Yeah. Well, one of I think the best day was I got the Paul Way Peace Prize.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he's at UNM, University of New Mexico, from the University of New Mexico. And I met Paul Ray, and I had just resonated with him so much because he was an artist and a poet, and a peace worker and did all this stuff. And when I got that award, I just thought it was so wonderful. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, the last question I have for you is, what gets you up in the morning?
Um, oh, my kitties do. I was born at 5:30 in the morning,
Hmm.
and so I'm a morning person. But my kitties, especially the boy cat, he's the most demanding. He gets me up at 5 a.m. every morning to be fed. And so I get up and feed him. And I feed the girl cat that I have two kitties right now. We're on
Hmm.
our fourth generation of kitties. I couldn't have children because I had endometriosis, but I'm really glad that I wasn't meant to because I couldn't have done all this,
Hmm.
all these things. And I believe most of the children in the world are my children, and I so enjoy working with them. So we're in our fourth generation of kitties, and so that's coming along, So
I hear you. Well, I can relate. We had when we lived in Phoenix, we had four cats, and when we moved to Santa Barbara, we then adopted five more, and then at one point we actually had three dogs, and everybody was indoor, and so we all and they all worked out fine, And now, unfortunately, or for however you look at it, we're now down to one dog and one cat. And it's actually been quite wonderful in that respect because we have really enjoyed having our animals. And I would tell you that This has been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for being with us here on Tell Me Your Story. And I look forward to staying in touch with you. And I'll send you some pictures once we've built this labyrinth out just off of our front porch. And we'll share that with you once we're able to put it together when the weather cools down. I think it would be a wonderful
Yes.
thing to have, really.
And the video you're putting together too, you're going to send that to me, or where do
It's
I
going to
get?
be sent to you as well. So again, I thank you so much for being a part of the work that we're doing here. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to love. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. To my dear friend Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.